Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into the critical issues of conflict and stability in Africa in 2024. You know, people always talk about Africa like it's one big sad country, but it's a massive continent with 54 different countries, each facing its own unique challenges. And trust me, some of these situations are more complicated than a Kardashian family vacation. Let's explore the key regions facing significant challenges. We're talking about places where the fight for peace and stability is a daily struggle, and where the headlines only tell a fraction of the story. Get ready to go beyond the headlines and really understand what's happening on the ground, because in 2024 the world needs to be paying attention to Africa. We begin our journey in Ethiopia, a nation still grappling with the aftermath of a brutal civil war. You remember the conflict in the Tigray region, right? Yeah, the one that sparked a humanitarian crisis the size of Texas? Well, a peace agreement was signed, which is always a good thing. But let's just say things aren't exactly back to normal. Imagine trying to rebuild your life after your house got caught in the middle of a war zone. That's the reality for millions of Ethiopians, many still living in displacement camps, relying on aid just to survive. And it's not just about rebuilding infrastructure, it's about rebuilding trust. Ethnic tensions, the kind that fueled the conflict in the first place, are still simmering below the surface. The government's trying, they really are, but fostering reconciliation in a place as divided as Ethiopia, it's like trying to herd cats that are also on fire. Add to that pressure from neighboring countries, each with their own agendas, and you've got a recipe for a very tense situation. Ethiopia's walking a tightrope, hoping for lasting peace, but knowing one wrong step could send them tumbling back into chaos. Next, we head north to Sudan, a country that's no stranger to turmoil. Remember Omar al-Bashir, the former president who was ousted? Well, his removal created a power vacuum that various military factions and ethnic groups are now fighting to fill. It's like a game of musical chairs, except the music stopped years ago, and everyone's still fighting over who gets to sit down. And while the generals play their power games, ordinary Sudanese people are paying the price. Millions are displaced, facing unimaginable hardship and a severe lack of food. It's a humanitarian crisis of epic proportions, and it's only getting worse. The international community is trying to mediate, but it's like trying to reason with a pack of hungry wolves. Everyone wants a piece of the pie and no one's willing to share. The big question is, can Sudan break free from this cycle of violence and instability? Can they establish a stable government that works for the people, not just the powerful? The world is watching, hoping for a brighter future for Sudan, but the path ahead remains treacherous. Now let's talk about Somalia, a country that has been synonymous with chaos and conflict for far too long. And at the heart of this struggle is al-shabab, a militant group that makes Boko Haram look like a bunch of choir boys. They control vast swaths of rural Somalia, terrorizing civilians and launching attacks with chilling regularity. Imagine living in a place where going to school or even just going to the market could get you killed. That's the reality for millions of Somalis. Now, the good news is that the Somali government, backed by international forces, is making some progress against al-Shabaab. They're reclaiming territory and trying to restore some semblance of order. But here's the catch. Somalia is also grappling with clan rivalries and political infighting. It's like they're trying to rebuild their house while everyone's arguing over what color to paint the walls. And all this instability, it's not just a Somali problem. It spills over borders, creating a breeding ground for extremism and piracy in the region. So, can Somalia finally turn the corner? Can they defeat al-Shabaab, overcome internal divisions, and build a more stable future? It's a long shot, but hey, stranger things have happened. Let's journey now to the heart of Africa, the Democratic Republic of Congo, or DRC for short. This place has everything: vast natural resources, stunning landscapes, and more armed groups than you can shake a stick at. See, the DRC has been plagued by conflict for decades, fueled by a toxic mix of greed, ethnic tensions, and a whole lot of weapons. It's like a real-life game of Risk, except the stakes are much, much higher. In the east, armed groups roam free, terrorizing civilians and fighting over control of mines and resources. It's a humanitarian catastrophe with millions displaced and in desperate need of aid. Imagine a country the size of Western Europe, and a huge chunk of it is basically a war zone. That's the DRC. International peacekeeping forces are trying to maintain order, but they're spread thin and the challenges are immense. It's like trying to put out a forest fire with a water pistol. And to make matters worse, corruption is rampant, weakening the government and making it nearly impossible to establish lasting peace. It's a vicious cycle. Conflict breeds instability, instability fuels corruption, and corruption perpetuates conflict. The DRC is a country brimming with potential, but it's being held hostage by its own troubled past. Can it break free from this cycle of violence and finally achieve the peace and prosperity it so desperately needs? Only time will tell. Finally, we arrive at the Sahel, a vast region stretching across Africa just south of the Sahara Desert. This is a region grappling with a perfect storm of challenges: climate change, poverty, weak governance, and a whole lot of guns. And where there's instability, you can bet your bottom dollar that extremist groups won't be far behind. We're talking about groups linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS, who are exploiting the chaos to recruit fighters and launch attacks. Imagine a band of heavily armed teenagers with a twisted ideology and a grudge against the world. That's the kind of threat the Sahel is facing. They attack military targets, but they also target civilians, making it clear that nowhere is safe. Schools, markets, even mosques, nothing is off limits. It's a campaign of terror designed to sow fear and destabilize the entire region. International forces are trying to help, but it's like trying to fight a hydra. You cut off one head, and two more grow back. The Sahel needs more than just military intervention. It needs a comprehensive approach that addresses the root causes of conflict, poverty, inequality, and lack of opportunity. The Sahel is a region on the brink, but it's not a lost cause. With sustained international support and a commitment from local governments to address the underlying issues, there's still hope for a brighter future. So there you have it, a glimpse into the complex realities of conflict and stability in Africa in 2024. It's a mixed bag, with glimmers of hope amidst ongoing challenges. But here's the thing, Africa's problems don't stay in Africa. Instability breeds extremism, which can spill over borders and affect us all. And in a world grappling with climate change and global inequality, finding solutions to Africa's challenges is in everyone's best interest. So what can you do? Stay informed, engage in dialogue, and support organizations working to make a difference on the ground. Because the future of Africa, just like the future of our planet, depends on all of us.
Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to check our other videos on important African topics.